All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Jamie Escobar Dyer. I am the FFCC Education Director, and I am excited to have with us today members from UCF Pegasus within our independent connection, really trying to connect our high school seniors leaving high school and getting connected into what is the independent life for Winter Guard as they kind of move forward with the Winter Guard career. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to our presenters.
I'll go first. Hi, my name is Neve. I've been spinning for around 8 years now, and this is my third year on Pegasus. Um, and I've loved every single bit of it, and then I passed off to Aaron.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Aaron. This is my 8th year in Guard as well, and this is going to be my 4th year at Pegasus. And it's been an amazing 4 years so far. So, yeah.
I'll go ahead and just jump right into this PowerPoint. I know when people signed up, they had a couple questions. Me and Aaron will go back and forth answering them, but we'll be happy enough to answer all of them for you. So I thought this is a great question. It's what specific skills and training methods are emphasized within your program. And one thing that's great about Pegasus is that a lot of our staff come from all over the world, right? So we have Heather Graham and Michael Townsend, which come from Boston and have previously taught at Pride, and they bring great choreography as well as great insights into the design and just the rest of the show, what's supposed to be executed and how things are supposed to look. And some of our other staff come from Vanguard and Carolina Crown, which really push our movement to the max. And it's hard to say what specific skills in training methods are emphasized because our range is so broad. But I could say as far as mental goes, we do emphasize hard work and dedication to the craft for sure. And Aaron can answer this one.
What is the audition process like for prospective members? Are there callbacks or just an audition day? How should I prepare? So our audition process typically is the course of 3 days. Whether it's usually once a weekend, but usually those weekends are in a row. Typically what they'll do is we'll always start out with movement. They'll usually do 30 minutes to an hour per stretch. And then they'll go into some of our movement exercises. They're usually not the same each year. We tend to try and develop new exercises per year to also reflect the need of the program, stylistically and also just training wise. Typically, we do movement first and flag on the very first day of auditions, and then we'll do small groups for those that first day. They usually just try and see how you grow throughout all 3 weekends. They never make a decision based off of the first weekend. By the end of the second weekend, they'll typically have an understanding of where you need to belong, but they always give you that third weekend to see how much you've grown over the course of the audition process. What I would say you should do to prepare is you should definitely stretch the night before, drink a lot of water, and also remind yourself of why you decided to go for an independent group. Because I'll be honest, the auditions can be very hard mentally and sometimes more challenging mentally than physically. So it's just really important to find your why of why you're just choosing to go on past your high school career. Or at least for me, that really helped me keep pushing and made me want to come back all 3 days to make sure I was getting the experience that I wanted. One thing that I would highly recommend that you do for Pegasus in particular is try and go to a couple modern dance classes. Pegasus is very modern based, especially with our main choreographer, Leah. She loves modern. And I'd say our style is just very abstract as well. So obviously all dance training is welcome, but modern is typically what we use and what we'll always go off of. And yeah, we'll usually also learn a spins with body and also spin and stops as well throughout the audition, as well as a rifle and saber piece. So yeah.
And then I'll answer this one. And how do members balance their academic jobs and responsibilities with their commitment to color guard? And I was personally worried about this myself when I first joined Pegasus because I'm a full-time student still actually. But I had internships through spring and fall semesters, and I thought it was going to be harder than it was, but I just had to take a little bit more time to plan when I was going to do my work and when I was going to practice and kind of just take all of my academic responsibility away from the weekends when we do practice. So let's say I had a test due on Saturday, I would try to get that done at least before like Thursday or Friday to kind of just stay on track and not have to go home after practice and do a test. And I know like Aaron himself, he works and does school and guard all at the same time. And most members actually do the same. Um, they're at least doing a job and color guard or school and guard. Um, so I would say just a like walking proving factor is that you definitely can do both at the same time. You just have to be a little bit more smart about it, plan, and just think ahead, basically.
So I'll go ahead and answer this next one. How was the jump from high school to independent? And how do competitions from independent guards differ than those in high school? Uh, the jump from high school to independent for me personally was just that we practiced longer, and we also spent a lot more time doing technique, especially. I know my story is a little bit different. I actually went to Pegasus my senior year of high school, so I had that jump from junior year to senior year like really crazy. Um, I'd say the biggest difference is that you're around a bunch of adults, and it's just like a maturity difference. I'd say on like the staff side to the members, it's pretty much the same thing that you'd expect from high school. You're obviously going to be work, you're going to be challenged no matter what. Um, the biggest difference is that you're starting to like add in those like adult life factors where it's like, okay, I have to manage my time more and make sure I practice a lot more outside of just rehearsal. Because yes, we practice a lot, but a lot of the times practice is usually just for like putting the things together and not just learning the things yourself. So
Yeah.
I'd say competitions for independent guards. I personally say they're kind of the same. We'll definitely always rehearse the day of, unless it's extenuating circumstances like no available gym time or whatever. Um, but the biggest difference, honestly, is that you go on way later, and you're more of like a role model and example for the high school kids that are watching you. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Did I miss anything about that, Nate?
No, I would definitely agree. I feel like competitions are largely the same. I never was given like a bus or anything. I always kind of drove myself. So I would say competitions pretty much feel the exact same. But again, it is kind of nice. You do go on later, so there's more people in the gym to cheer you on. And yeah, you are the role model for the activity.
Yeah.
And then the overall time commitment, for me, I practiced like if you're comparing high school to independent, I practiced in the middle of the week 2 times plus a Saturday rehearsal. But at Pegasus, we do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So for me, it was about the same amount of time just on different days. Friday is usually just a 4 hour practice, 3 to 4. And then we take that time to really lock in our technique and kind of almost just warm up and wake our minds up for the weekend. Saturday, is usually like a 10 to 6 or a 12 to 8. It's like a nice 8 hour rehearsal. And Sunday is basically the same thing, though we usually try and get out a little bit early on Sunday, like at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. or 5 p.m. Just so that people who drive far can like take their time to actually drive and not have to drive super late. And then on top of this, we like to encourage people to spin outside of just practice alone. Like what Aaron was saying, we kind of take practice to just put it all together rather than learn and kind of get consistent. We usually try and get consistent on our own. So I would say I practice a couple hours just in the week on my own doing what I need to do to get through my show.
And Neve actually already answered the practice schedule. But every single group is going to be very different with how they rehearse and also the times they rehearse. For us, we try to stay in the same location every single weekend, if we can actually help it. But of course, gym availability is somewhat scarce, especially in Orlando, I've noticed. But typically Friday nights go from like 8 to, usually we're scheduled 8 to 1, but we try and get out by 12 to give us a little bit more time, especially for Saturdays, because Saturdays is where we usually like drill in a lot. Saturdays times also vary. It just depends on the spaces, but we've done typically 10 to 6 or 10 to 8 on Saturdays. And then if we don't do that, it's usually like 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. on Sundays. And or on Saturdays. Sundays, yeah. Sundays will usually be 10 to 6, if not a little bit earlier, so that we can have enough time to clean up and go about our days. But the practice schedule and frequency of video assignments, we have weekly video assignments here at Pegasus, but they're usually not too bad. They're usually just a couple things. Yeah.
It starts off pretty like simple in the beginning. It's like 3 times of a certain toss, and then at the end it'll be like do a full run of your show. But we get trained well enough to get through that full run pretty easily.
Yeah. And plus, we try, if we have like a longer video assignment, a lot of us try and get things done like the beginning of the week and then the middle, and then get everything done by Thursday. Just so that we're not so stressed. It's really about time management when it comes to these video assignments, because some days there'll be like 2 things and then the next will be like 6. But yeah, in terms of what our practice is like, we always start out with we stretch for 30 minutes to an hour, and then we always go into dance class. At Pegasus, movement is probably the most important thing we do. So we usually do dance class for about an hour and a half to 2 hours every single day. Sometimes maybe an hour. It just depends. And then we go into our spins with feet, which we typically run that all together once, then break certain sections down, and give the feedback to make every person successful with that. And then we have a flourish or track series that we sometimes do along with spins and stops. That also works like, every single catch position, and also how to work double time and all that. But we make sure to break that down for you well in advance. Intensity, I'd say Fridays is pretty much like the warm up for the entire weekend. We try to make that the day where it's like, okay, we're getting locked in for the entire weekend. We're here, and it's usually not too bad. You usually just do technique on Friday nights with maybe a run through. It really just depends on what's needed for the weekend.
Yeah.
But Saturdays we typically chunk the entire show, and then break down a certain section, like the ballad or closer. And then Sundays we just pick everything back up together. It's kind of like we workshop a certain section, and then we just add a chunk to that.
Yeah, it pretty much depends on like the weekend, right? Like if it's a show day, Saturday will kind of just be like a second Friday practice where it's like a warm up, clarifying some things, maybe some cleaning. And then I think he answered the rest. Where you like it. Where do you practice, and is it important to have your own car or transportation to do independent guard? We practice pretty close to UCF. We practice at a school called Lake Howell, and it's about 12 to 15 minutes from UCF. I would say it's not completely necessary to have your own car or transportation, but you should get with somebody to kind of plan that out and make sure you have a ride to get to places. But we have so many members who are willing to drive. We're kind of from all over. Not everybody goes to UCF. Some people come from all the way in Miami or Tampa and Jacksonville. So there's usually someone that can pick you up on the way to any competition or practice.
Yeah, we make sure to help everyone out and make sure everyone can get to practice. Like Neve said, we're in like the UCF to Winter Park area typically. But as an independent group, we go wherever we have a gym pretty much. But we are always in like the Orlando area. A car definitely makes things easier. my first 3 years at Pegasus, I drove all the way from Gainesville to Orlando, and now I live here. Um, but a card does make things a lot easier. You can kind of plan out your day more and uh, figure out what you need before the rehearsal and before shows. So, but people are
Yeah.
always willing to help you.
Yeah, for sure. And then do you want to
And-
answer this one?
yeah. So the costs associated with joining an independent team, it really does vary depending on the group that you're going to. But Pegasus, typically, I would expect your season to be around 2,200 to maximum 3,000 for the entire season. It
Yeah.
just goes up depending on the show you're at, or the show you're on. For example, like some guard may use a prop. Some guards don't even use a floor. It really just depends. Pegasus especially has done a lot of shows where we don't even have a floor, or we only have a prop. So it really just depends on the season. But I would say any independent group will typically be around 2,000 to 2,600. Pegasus is just a little bit more expensive because of the gyms in Orlando costing more to rent. So our
Yeah.
fees just go up a little bit more.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And this is kind of like a follow-up question. It's what fees are involved aside from membership dues, and there any additional mandated costs for clinics or workshop? There's no mandated clinics. That's just something you can like optionally go to, and none of those take place during the season. Usually, Pegasus will have 2 to 3 in the off season, which is over the summer, and that's really just for people who want to get to know Pegasus better if they're super interested in auditioning, or they just want to get better on their own terms. I've been to a couple of them, and they're actually like a lot of fun. And what Pegasus does that's pretty cool is we have different levels. So we'll have like an advanced block, an intermediate block, or a beginner block. So anyone can come and do whatever they want. It's mainly for fun. It's not really to like audition or anything. That's not what it's for. But yeah, we don't have any additional mandated workshops. And apart from the membership dues, what you're just paying is normal expenses, like food and gas to practice. But other than that, there's no like costs. Sometimes we might throw in like oh, maybe we need to get like a rehearsal tank or something, or like a show tank, and it'll be like $30 or something. But your dues are basically what you're going to be paying in Pegasus fully.
Yeah, we try to keep everything covered
Oh.
inside your dues so that
Yeah.
there's no hidden fees or anything. The clinics are just for you to familiarize yourself with the style, especially movement. So yeah.
Yeah.
Conducive work to offer all their alternative payment options available. Um, so typically, if you have any problems paying dues or anything like that, we're usually pretty flexible to work with. The all of the that the staff asks is that you make sure that any problems are known. No one wants to chase anyone down for money, and no one wants to ask like where your money is. But the staff was very willing to work with you. So we have a payment plan for how to do our dues. Typically, we'll try and make it to where if you're paid off before December, you actually get an early bird discount, which is usually $200 to $300 off your dues. But they're really willing to work with you. Like you can pay your dues all the way up from when you start to usually the end of March is where we try to have everything paid off so that when we go to Dayton, we don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
So if there is any like extenuating circumstances, just make sure that you're communicating to the staff because more likely than not, we are always willing to help you.
Yeah. 100%. And then could you provide more insight into the type of shows the team has performed in the past? What would you say is your team's identity? And I think Aaron probably has a better answer for this. But one thing I'll say first is that a lot of Pegasus shows are very different. If you just look in the past 4 years alone, it's almost hard to tell that we're the same team just because of how different the shows are. And me personally, I think that's a great thing. It's nice to have a broad range of performance and spinning styles. It makes you just better overall, but it's also more fun. You're not going to really want to do the same thing. I will say, as far as dance goes, we do have one choreographer that kind of sets the tone and theme for Pegasus. And yeah, and I'll let Aaron kind of finish because he's been in more shows than I have.
Yeah. So like Neve said, we're a very diverse organization. For example, my first year we did an Aerosmith cover of Dream On, and then the next year we went into Kubrick. Uh, it was very, very different. It typically just depends on the type of cast we have, whether we're going to do like a more mature show or just whatever mood the designer is in. Um, I like you've said, and I kind of mentioned before, like in our training, it's just very stylistically, we're very modern based. So that's kind of like the undertone that's set in terms of movement with that. Um, but we've done some very diverse things. Like we've done Kubrick, which is about Stanley Kubrick and all of his films, and then the year after that, we did Babel, which is about the Tower of Babel. Um, and then this year, Hibernaculum, we're snakes.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
so
just,
different every year.
yeah. You never get the same show twice, and I think that's what a lot of people appreciate about Pegasus. We're
Yeah.
always trying to push the barrier in some way, shape, or form. Like, for
Yeah.
example, the shift between Guernica, just a spoken word the entire show, um, all the way to space, which actually had no words, except for like a little bit of like mumbles in the background.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And then do you want to do this one?
yeah. Is there a strong sense of camaraderie among the teams, and what is the member culture and friendship like? So we try to make sure that no matter what guard you're on, like if you're on the A opener world guard, you're a part of Pegasus. We try not to stay within our own guards. For example, we do bigs and littles every single year, and depending on if we have 2 to 3 teams, we do families. So we try to make it to where someone in the world is the like the mentor or the big, um, and to someone who is on A or open. It's just very nice to have, especially if you're new to Pegasus and if you're new to Pegasus and you have someone on the upper team that's been there for a while. They give you like a kind of like an anchor to Pegasus and can help you with any questions you have. Like with my littles, I answer any like technique questions they have. Or if they ever need to talk, because guard's not always going to be fun, it's never going to be easy. It's just nice to have someone. And I feel like at Pegasus, we do a pretty good job of making sure that no matter what, you're supported and that you always have someone to talk to and be your friend.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, that's what I've loved. And that's what's kept me coming back for 4 years.
I agree. What opportunities are there for making this career? Where can I go with these skills higher at these higher independent levels? I would say independent is a good stepping stone to making guard a career. A lot of these skills that you'll develop at Pegasus are really great for teaching at other schools. I know Aaron teaches. I think actually most people on Pegasus do teach. I would say, or at least half of the people teach, and they do get paid for their time at their schools. Some
Yeah.
more than others. It just really depends. Obviously, the better you are, the more you'll get paid, and the more opportunities you'll get to make it a career. But it really just depends on how much work you put in and how many years you really spend at Pegasus. But if you're looking to make guard a career, it's the right choice to spin independently.
Yeah, because the more opportunities you have and the more organizations you're a part of, the more styles you'll have under your belt. Um, like Pegasus is the only independent guard that I've been a part of, but it's helped me so much and given me a lot of different skills and also helped me learn some more technical approaches. Um, and also, if you were wanting to do Pegasus and then maybe do drum corps, a lot of the staff works with a lot of different drum corps here. Um, and also, any sort of experience you get will help you get into those guards you're looking for.
Yep.
Neve can attest to this. He's been at Vanguard in Boston, and he also spent at West Broward in high school. So he's obviously had a lot of experience. And then for me personally, I came from Phantom, Brown, and then Blue Devils. So, and Pegasus, I have to say, is the reason why I was able to do those things.
Yeah.
And it gave me that stepping stone to get into that. Like Nate was saying, I teach at a couple schools. I'm currently at Lake Howell and Lake Nona. Uh, the more the more years you march, the more opportunities you're going to have. It's really about building a resume.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I will say I forgot to kind of mention this. A lot of our directors and designers work with other schools, and they will ask members for opportunities to write some work at their school or help clean and stuff like that. And you also meet members who work at schools who need additional staff to help them out as well. And I'll go first with this one, and it's what makes your independent team special and why should I join? Uh, this is a great question as well. Pegasus, it's really hard to pinpoint one thing that's special. I know I love it personally because I love to dance, and the dance at Pegasus was very different to me, and I ended up like falling in love with it, even though I didn't really think I was going to. And that essentially is what I can say, like, is that Pegasus kind of like pushes you to do things that you never were exposed to before and increases your range. Like the choreography, the dance, the people, the members, the staff. It was all very different to me, and it's been a really good experience having something new every year with like a somewhat new team and new show. And then if Aaron, you want to go?
Yeah. So I think the thing that makes Pegasus especially so different from any other guard in WGI is how we move. I know I've talked about movement a lot, but it really is the foundation and also the identity that we've tried to latch onto these last couple of years, ever since 2017, especially. That's how we really just decided to go about how like who we are and our being. Um, we're very we're just very movement based, and like one thing that's really special about us in particular is I feel like how we move is just so freeing, and it's without judgment. And yes, there's a technical base behind it, but it's still accessible and adaptable to the people who are on the guard. And I feel like that's something that's really special about us. And yeah, like Pegasus has just been a very welcoming place for a lot of people, and for me especially. It made me want to continue spinning after high school, especially being in it while in high school. So it was just very, it gave me a family.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much going to include this like pre-questioned part of the Zoom.
Awesome. Does anybody here want to share any questions that they still have? Checking to see. Looks like we are good. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for sharing so much insight into Pegasus. I think this is going to be a great segue for a lot of high school seniors that are interested and maybe scared or curious to what the independent world is like. And I think you guys did a fantastic job of really giving us that insight tonight. So thank you again for offering up your time and sharing. And I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Problem.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.